well, it's that time again that I'm on my way to work and there's no reception, and I'd like to listen to Glenn Beck. It's not on the radio and I can't listen to it on the phone either. So here I am. What lessons have I learned this morning so far that I can share? I listened to a little bit of Glenn Beck this morning. I also listened to Dr. Greer, and also thinking in light of, our own Torah traditions and some things in my own life that I'm dealing with right now. And I think the big lesson to learn, it seems, cliche and it seems cheesy to me for a long time. This whole idea of the, you hear certain things and then at a certain point in your life you realize the wisdom behind them. And I'm only 33 years old. When you get to Ben Arboim Labina, each decade in your life, the Pirkei Avos tells us that you get to a different level in your views of the world and in your life and all kinds of things. And you start to understand what life is all about. Even the things that you've heard a million times, they start to have a deeper meaning than they used to. And so I'm from the secular world. I'm not sure the source of it. I think they push it in a lot of self-help places and so forth. They call the Serenity Prayer. They say, that I'm paraphrasing. I don't really remember exactly the wording. That's not what's important, of course. But the idea is that we ask God to give us the strength to fix the things that we can fix, the patience to deal with the things that we can't fix, and the wisdom to understand the difference between the two. I mean, it sounds very cheesy to most people, at least to me for a long time, it sounds, but, I realize, there's certain, serenity is so important, and that's the key to serenity. Not like, on Seinfeld, it was just like, serenity now, serenity now. It's like, you're not supposed to shout it, That's not what it, and then what did they say? Serenity now and insanity later. That's not just bottling in anger. That's not, and that can lead to depression. That can lead to all kinds of things. But serenity, well, where do we get it from? Where do we get the serenity from? And it's that, and it's a challenge to find that. I mean, you see injustices in the world, and there are things you can do about it. Sometimes you do the most you can. And, there was a case recently. I was an eyewitness to what went on in this case. Due to a lot of fake news, 3 innocent people got arrested. And once you get caught by the feds, there's almost no choice. It's like especially, you had someone like Preet Bharara, who was such a bigot and who was fighting against basic freedoms and things, and we saw that, very clearly with how he prosecuted Dinesh D'Souza, who's, one of the biggest thinkers that we have, in conservative movements today, and brilliant person, and because of Preet Bharara's utter bigotry against anyone who dares to question the powers that be, mostly the Democrats, but really any of the powers that be, he ruthlessly and hatefully prosecuted people, and also he's part of the same cabal against organized religion and against traditional religion and against tradition in general, and he's been prosecuting people grasping at straws for nonsense, someone they said they turned into attempted murder. How does a wedding become attempted murder? And it's nonsense, crazy things. And it's the same thing. They say, well, because he gave three people gave their new tenants toothbrushes, and somehow it became voter fraud. But the thing is, with the feds, if they offer you a plea bargain, well, there's a danger in taking a plea bargain that the judge doesn't have to take it, which people should be aware of. I was a federal prison chaplain, and there was a fellow. His lawyer told him take a plea bargain, and the plea bargain was for something for 10 years, which shouldn't have been anything really. And he wound up getting like 27 years, for something that really took place because he suffered from mental illness, and he really should not have pled guilty at all. A very intelligent and educated person, but suffered from mental illness. He had a change in the medication, which changes people's minds often. Sometimes, when they change these medications, I've seen cases where, people who are totally normal, they change the medication and they wind up committing suicide and like horrible things. The medical part of psychiatry really needs an overhaul. Psychology is a wonderful, wonderful way to help people, but psychiatry is sometimes necessary, but there's so many things that really need to be taken with more. There are times when medical psychiatry is necessary, but it has to be taken in a way that's understood. It's very dangerous. That's my point. There's big dangers in medical psychiatry. But on the other hand, there's dangers when you don't have it. So how do you balance the two? It's very difficult. And but this fellow, he made a plea bargain, and the judge didn't honor the plea bargain, and he gave him like 27 years, and then on appeal, like they lowered it to like 22 years. But then really horrible things that go on in the federal system. I saw it firsthand. I was a chaplain, and the other chaplains, they all knew there were people there on bum rats. They said it openly that we all knew that. The cliche goes that anybody goes to prison, everybody in prison is innocent, but there's a lot of truth to it. And of course, you can usually tell who's really guilty. There's certain people, it's pretty obvious, and a lot of people admit, and they really, but sometimes these plea bargains are kind of pretty flimsy. But they offered a pretty good plea bargain, and so one fellow recently took it. The problem is, what are the implications for everybody else? And the thing is I feel really this plea bargain is almost a level of perjury, because they did absolutely nothing wrong. I was there. I saw what happened. And I'm also aware of New York State election laws. You're allowed to move into a place the same day and vote in elections. And so predating a lease and giving people, even if that was what happened, which really wasn't, that wouldn't have really been a violation of election laws. But what I did see, I was a poll watcher that day, there was the opposition, there were many people who moved away because they were bigots. They don't want to live next to Hasidic Jews, and they moved away from their homes, and yet they never told the Board of Elections that they moved. It was discovered that they were still on the election board, the election rolls. The first person who moved there, and someone who had lived in Sullivan County for years before that, full time, came to challenge these people who moved away, who were really committing election fraud. And I FBI. It's been written up on the internet. There's ample evidence of the actual voter fraud that took place that day, and the collusion between the Board of Elections. I mean, it's really sickening to see that the victims are being prosecuted and the innocent people are walking free, and they're becoming cocky and arrogant over it. I mean, this is the most I can do, is talk about what happened that day. That people, they moved to Middletown, they moved to other places, they came back to Bloomingburg to vote, and the people who lived there were denied the right to vote. Nothing changed from that election. That election was won by the opposition because of the fraud from the opposition side that was brazen and open, and I really don't understand how this could be. And if it would have gone, I hope the other two don't take a plea deal, but I don't know what's going to happen now, because he took the plea deal. The others have to take it too, or is it going to make their case look bad? Because in reality, they did nothing wrong. And they were victims of voter fraud. Their side lost because of the voter fraud from the other side, and I myself went and challenged those same votes the challenges were denied for no reason and never investigated in 2014, and it took a whole year later, and those people were still on the voter rolls a year later, and I had to go and challenge those voter rolls. All the FBI has to do is see how many of those people who were challenged in 2014 came back to vote, and who are still on the voter rolls in 2015, and find out where did they live in 2014, and you have an open and shut case of real voter fraud, and yet they're not doing this. I don't know what's happening. I don't know why this hasn't happened yet, but that's it. But all right, this is what I can do. I can talk about what I saw. I mean, I'm willing to go and testify in court about what happened. And that's why there was such a discrepancy of so many more people voting in 2014, because they actually sent back people who didn't live there to come and vote. This is an open and shut case. And I hope every person who moved away from Bloomingburg and came back to vote in 2014 gets what's coming to them, and the FBI comes and knocks on their doors. And now that Trump, thank God, got rid of Preet Bharara, we'll have real justice. But in the meantime, this is what's going on. They knew that they're going to lose this case, the federal government, and so they offered a plea bargain just to get it out of the way. And but the thing is, what are the implications for everybody else? I don't know. But that's beside the point. But this is all making me very upset. But I'm listening to Glenn Beck. He was interviewing a fellow who was talking about dealing with anger and fear of anger. And it was really inspiring. And also the same thing, Dr. Greer, also conquering fear, conquering anger, conquering hate. And the answer that Dr. Greer brings, which is a Torah answer, is oneness with God. Now the thing is, there are times for anger, that's what I have to disagree with the more, hippie type of, and they should know that, there is a folk song from Ecclesiastes, there's a time to love and a time to hate. There are times, but the thing is, we have to know when is the time. We have to find the wisdom to balance these things. Because the danger that's involved is also like this. There's really not that much I can do right now, especially not, people are taunting me on Twitter and this and that, and I should really block them, but I'm not sure that's the wisest thing to do. But it is quite upsetting. But if we open our hearts up to love, and we open our hearts up to God, and recognize that there's only one God who controls everything, and God has a plan that we don't know yet. And in the end, we know what the end game is Mashiach is going to come, and the whole world will be perfected. There will be this disclosure. Everything's going to be revealed. The glory of the Lord will be revealed, and all flesh will see together, meaning that everything that's in the spiritual and other dimensional realms will be revealed within this space-time continuum of the three dimensions of space and the fourth dimension of time. And there's going to be this revelation, just like what we had at Sinai. It's going to happen again when Mashiach comes. We are going to have this revelation event. We're going to have this disclosure event, essentially, once again. And that's what we're remembering on Shavuos, and that's what we reenact on Shavuos, and that's what we relive on Shavuos, and that's what we return to on Shavuos. This is such a special holiday. There's the circular cycles of the Jewish calendar, of the Torah calendar, where we can tap in once again, a lot of the Sfarim and Kadeshim say, to things that are, we can receive the Torah. That's what we do on Shavuos. We can go through all these things again and have that revelation again, and the essence of that revelation is what we're trying to keep alive with Torah mitzvahs. The chutzpah of someone who's spitting on her father's grave, her grandfather's grave. She had a frum zayda, and she goes and intermarries, and she's going to go and say and fight against the frum yid and try to shut down all the Torah institutions that are bringing light and holiness to a place. And why? Because she's a booze peddler who wants people to be depressed, so they're going to be dependent on her. Because the Torah is going to bring goodness to everybody. And, people who didn't have jobs now have jobs. Non-Jewish people, all kinds of people. Their lives are so much better because of this, and because of the hatred that this person has, and all of her friends, this Erev Rav, Sabbaty, and Frankist groups, their hatred and their anger, which is what the left is all about. It's sad, and I feel bad for them, and I hope they do tshuva, and I hope they have an awakening. But it's because of people like them that the world's not ready for this disclosure. But the thing is, just because they have that anger, they have that hatred, doesn't mean that I have to answer back with anger and hatred. And it's hard, because it's a strong Yetzer to lash back in the same way. And the answer is with love, with peace, with Torah. Not with self-righteousness, not with anger, not with extremism, not with fundamentalism, but with love, with peace, with Torah, with recognition of the oneness of God, with love of God, ahava rabbah, with recognizing how God loves us. That's a major theme in Shavuos by the Hasidic masters. The ahava rabbah prayer, which we say by the Birkas Kriya Shema, before the Kriya Shema, and after the whole description of the Ma'aseh Merkava, of the Ofanim Mechayas HaKodesh, that we, and the Kedusha, the revelation, which is basically, what people who discuss extraterrestrials and flying saucers and these type of things, they're really, they're getting their answer, these type of things. We talk about that, then we talk about ahava rabbah, we talk about how, and because these are the kochos and nivdalim, these are, do I have a tire? That's my tire. I don't have the air pump. So anyway, Alexander Rebbe said that before we can think about how much we have to love God, we have to know how much God loves us. And before we can say even the Kriya Shema, we have to know about how much God loves us. And Baal Shem Tov said that everything, all of our prayers can be answered through the prayer of Ahava Rabbah that we say before the Kriya Shema. And on Shavuos, we say it with much more intensity and kavana, and with a tune, with a nigun, and get into a tremendous state of devekas. And that's what we're supposed to be doing. So, I'm about to go daven now, and that's what we can focus on, Ahava Rabbah. All right, well, God bless you. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you all later.